are listening to Fika with Vicky on United Public Radio, 107.7 and 105.3 from New Orleans.
Norman?
Hello.
Okay, we were having a bit of a Fika situation, but we're all settled now. I think we're all settled now. All good?
I think we are. I can see you. And
Okay, all right. So we'll begin.
Blow apart at the seams.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Fika. Our guests this week are author Michelle Dorey and Jim Moriarty. It's October, and that means ghost stories. Several years back, I was scrolling through social media, and, well, you know how that story ends. The haunting of Crawley House went straight to my e-reader, and I found myself first in a newer Victorian home where nefarious forces were at work, and then on almost a century later in the same home, well, they were still continuing their tale. It was the perfect ghost story, and I knew some October I would be asking Michelle to Fika. When she suggested that Jim Moriarty should also come, my first reaction was, how does he have the time being Sherlock Holmes' nemesis and all? But
Okay, I need to interrupt you for a moment. You are not to believe this.
I'm saying it. Apparently you're not Sherlock Holmes' nemesis. You're different.
Finish.
James Moriarty.
I have a son-in-law named Watson.
Yes, I heard that your son-in-law's name is Watson, and that just makes it better. I mean, it's just perfect all the way around. I love it.
Absolutely.
So I said that he should certainly come because now we get to see how this duo's writing works together, and because it's kind of an unusual situation, and also if they're having as much fun in Kingston, Ontario, as I think they are. So thanks for the chills and shivers, Michelle and Jim, and welcome to Fika.
Thank you very much for having us.
Oh, you're very welcome. We didn't get a chance because I'm beginning to think that this Jim is not Sherlock Holmes' nemesis, but he may be mine. So, Jim, can you just talk for a second here? Because I think I hear a little bit of echoing, and I just want to make sure that your voice comes out clear.
It's my chintzy earbuds.
Okay.
I can hear the echo reverbing as well.
Can you try them without the earbuds, just in case? Sometimes it works better without. I don't know.
All right, I'll just shut down Bluetooth. Give me half a second.
Yep. You have to just pull them out.
Pretending I know what I'm doing.
Can't you just pull them out? Oh, I see. Try again.
Any better?
Yeah, I think it is better. Don't you think it's better?
I think it's better.
Okay. So, welcome to Fika, and I think we have Jim sorted out. And so, the first question, are you ready? Are you ready now, Jim?
No, you don't.
For Michelle. Okay, so what I want to know first is, especially now, Michelle, with all this going on, is how, like, obviously this is working. Okay, now I'm echoing. Can you hear me echoing, Michelle? Okay,
No, I don't
I'm
hear you.
hearing me
No, I don't
echoing,
hear you.
and okay, so but it will show up. This is usually a problem. So let's try them back in, and maybe just nod. No, we'll get you in here somehow. Can you put them? Is it going to be a hassle to put the earphones back in?
For me?
Yeah, so that I don't echo.
You're as much of a nag as Michelle.
Okay. Look, I'm just trying to make it work.
Yeah.
Takes a woman.
Okay. Okay.
You know, you're getting a lot of mileage from your good look,
baby.
That's what I say to my husband all the time. It's a good thing you're cute because, okay. So how, especially now, how does that work? Who does what? If there's a creative difference of opinion, how does it work?
Well, it starts actually, we get a concept, and Jim calls our kitchen the magic room, and we'll make supper, and we're kind of bouncing ideas back and forth, and we'll come up with a few good concepts and scenes, and then I will actually write it, and the next day Jim will do a read back of it, and a critique, and it's a back and forth. He'll also, when he's doing a read back, he usually adds a lot of description or emotion to a scene. So it really is a collaborative effort on both of our parts.
So it's just working together and taking your strengths, whatever they would be.
Yes.
Okay. Now I'm getting echoes with Michelle, and I don't know. This never happens. So I'm trying to. There are ghosts in the house. There are. They're
waiting in.
Our fairies. I normally blame the fairies, but I'm blaming the ghosts today. So I'm trying to figure out what our next step should be. I want to get this thing rolling, but I don't know how to do that. Okay.
Well, that makes three of us.
So we have tried Michelle without speakers, and that doesn't work. I mean headphones, and we've tried. Okay, I'm going to do this. I've never done this before. Excuse the hair. Okay, now I can't hear if there's echoing.
Oh,
all right.
I'm not hearing any echoing on my end.
No, I will be the one to hear it.
Because and that's what's going out.
Yeah, because that's what's going in. That's why but I can't hear at all. All right. Let's try turning our speakers down a little bit, guys.
okay.
Is your speaker up loud, Jim? Because sometimes that will do it. I usually have my speaker down to like 30 or something.
Well, I had mine on my phone punched up all the way. I now have that down to about 30%.
Okay, and we're still getting that.
Michelle,
you.
Mine is down to about 30% as well.
Okay, why are we? Are you in the same room?
Yes.
I'm right beside
you. Okay, can you go in different rooms then? That might be it.
That might be it. Yeah, all of the technology is interfering. I think you're probably onto something there.
No, actually, it's my husband just asked, "Are you in the same room?" in the comment section. So, you know.
Yeah, it would take a guy to fix it.
Oh, sure.
Jim, could you go outside and try it?
Sure. But when I go outside, I'm going to be assaulted by pigeons.
Okay, I'm hearing a little bit from Jim we can live with. Michelle, you speak now.
Okay.
Okay, she's good. All right, that was it. I didn't legitimately mean go. No, go sit in a comfortable chair. We're talking now. Okay, thank you very much, Dave, and for your input as well, Brian. All right. So I will keep you around. Okay. So now we're good. We're starting. So when you're writing together, everybody does their strengths and you work together to make it the best you can. Yes. And that also was echoed by my husband jumping in to help me out today. So you know what? It works sometimes, people. Yep. It works.
For sure.
Now I'm really thinking is. So there you are. You're off. You're writing your stories together. You're doing this. Have you ever considered that you would make a great series? Like there's this couple writing ghost stories, and there's got to be shenanigans that happen.
Oh
it
my!
It started that way.
It started
Our writing
that way.
career began that what you just said.
Having a good time.
I'll give them the backstory, sweetheart.
Yeah, no, somebody give me the backstory because it's great.
Jim. Yeah, go ahead, Jim.
Okay. All my life, I had been told, you need to write the book. You got to write the book. You have to write the book. And we got together much later in life. And we were in our 50s when we met. And I said to myself, wouldn't it have been great if we met when you were still in your 20s in New York City? And I sat down, and within a span of, what, honey, maybe 8 weeks, I was possessed with writing a novel, a fantasy novel, and time travel and romance and action and adventure, 90,000 words. And in about 8 weeks, I finished it. I wrote the end. During that, when I was about halfway through, Michelle was watching me do it, and she said, I think I could be a writer too. And she really liked ghost stories. And we looked at what I wrote, and it's 90,000 words of absolute dreck. And it was from that moment, from then on, we decided to do the partnership telling the ghost stories and the ghost tales. And it started out with Crawley House because of, as I'm sure you've seen, we went on a haunted ghost walk kind of tour, and there was no flesh to the characters or anything. It was more or less a recitation of this is what they say happened, and then that happened, and then that, nothing but plot with no characters. And we started chatting as soon as the tour was over, and her first novel, Crawley House, came about as a result of that. But yeah, there is a book there that is actually the two of us getting together, not in a novelized form.
But
it's not published
it's
because,
there.
As I said, it's right.
But the memoir, well, you need. So, Michelle, did you ever think about writing before?
Not really. I enjoyed writing in English on my English classes in high school, but I'd never really thought, because who thinks to write 60, 70,000 words? It just seems impossible. But once Jim did it, and I've always been a big reader, I thought, well, why not try it? And I was having so much fun doing it. And learning more about the writing craft, that I just kept going and going because it was fun. And the two of us really enjoyed it.
So together you made the perfect writer.
Yes.
Like, it takes, you were each other's half when it comes to writing anyways.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's remarkable the synergy between the two of us. It really is. Yes, we publish under her name, maybe because I'm a candy ass, or maybe it's because women authors sell better in the indie market or whatever, or maybe it was her idea that started it. But that's going back now about 7 years, and we just stick with it.
And so that is my question, because this definitely works. Although I do want to point out Brian's comment here, because it sort of sounded like that. That sounds inspired by the old song, "Anything You Can Do."
Oh boy, did he really, really tell the truth on that one.
Wow.
I think maybe there's a little bit of that in most marriages.
Yeah.
There's that little competitive struck. So how many books? I tried to count, and they're all over in different series and everything, because somebody really does have to update her.
That fell on me, but yeah. Not a techie.
How many books have you written and put out there?
28 books, actually. We've got 2 series of the haunted novels, and then I just taking a break from that, I dived into paranormal women's fiction, which is basically it's fantasy fiction with witches. There are older heroines in the books who've had some of life's hard knocks, divorce, and coping with that, getting on, and they discover magic, and they really are fun to write. So all in all, it's 28. there's 6 in the Hauntings of Kingston, 6 novels, and 7 in the Haunted Ones, which is actually, they take place in Upper New York State. And then I have one orphan, Haunted Cabin, which is
I was wondering where that fit in.
I think it would be closer to the Hauntings of Kingston, because they are more independent stories to each other.
Standalone.
They're very, very much standalone. Whereas the Haunted Ones series, we started with Haunted Hideout. And then when I was writing the second book, some of the characters from Haunted Hideout, I didn't want to let go. So I brought them guest appearances over into Grave Conjuring. And then characters, as more books were written, and I started to like more and more of the characters, they carried through all of the other books. They're all independent stories,
but with the same.
But the characters do make guest appearances, and they play previous books' characters in a current book will have a minor role.
And series sell because people also get attached to the characters, and once you get to know them, you're like a little sad when they go away.
Oh yeah, they're friends.
Yeah, like what are they doing next week? You want to call them up and see if they want to come over for dinner Sunday. So at least you can keep them in the books. Yes. And I also want to comment on the older authors, because I think that is so important. Many people that start writing wait till they're retired or older, and so they know what that means. And like, no, I'm not sleeping on the floor of a tent anymore. Get me an RV.
We discussed that at length.
And there's a lot of people out there reading in that age group that gets. I'm good at all genres, but sometimes it's just like, no. I want somebody a little older and more knowledgeable about the world. So I think that's fantastic. I think that's terrific. Now, with the Haunting of Crawley House, can you tell us a little bit about it? So before we start discussing it specifically, people have a little idea of what's going on with the story.
Do you want to take this one, Jim, or shall I? I don't want to exclude you.
Sure. I love shooting my mouth off. You want?
I would just like to point out that Jim is not Canadian. Where are you from, Jim?
I am born and raised in the Bronx.
Exactly. Okay, so
I'm a New Yorker.
So that's Jim. Okay, I won't say anything else about that.
So you'd like a synopsis of the
Yes,
Haunting
please.
of Crawley House?
Yes, please.
All right. Okay. It starts after the First World War. A major in the Canadian military. He married a British noblewoman. Think of something like Downton Abbey, and brought her over to Canada. She gave birth to twins, and when she had her second pregnancy, she was advised to get a housekeeper. So they hired a housekeeper who was an immigrant from Ireland. Now, my parents were immigrants from Ireland, so I did a lot of the dialogue in terms of the "ye dinna know what ye be doing" and stuff like that, because that's what I grew up with.
Oh,
and at any rate,
it was good.
In the modern times, the house still stands today, but it's haunted and it's owned by the local university that has never been able to have tenants last more than just a few weeks or a few months. And the book tells the tale of the sordid and tragic history of that house and why it is still haunted to this very day.
And it does it well. And with that being said, and I also want to say that your dialect was, I never thought about it while I was reading it, but that's because it was good. Nothing sounded strange or out of hand you did a really nice job on there.
I had the chair on that.
And you did it well. So the curiosity of the ghost walk and what could happen created the story of Crawley House. Oh,
that's the key of writing right there. That phrase you just said.
Curiosity.
What could happen? What if? What if? And then blah, blah, blah. And then it leads to flights of imagination. But that's the absolute key in his fantastic book, Stephen King on Writing. He starts out with the writer's process of creativity is ask what if, and followed up with whatever you think. And that's how it happens. That's very telling on your part.
Well, it is the most important thing. If you can't envision, you are going to have a difficult time writing. Some of us envision things easier than others. Like I envisioned a quiet start to Fika this stuff. I should have no. Thank you, Jim. That was it. Nice. You were being nice and.
Don't mind
the guy the guy from the Bronx was being so nice, and the whole Canadian was like, okay. So that takes curiosity to do that. But with any ghost story, there's like a part that happens in the past, so that you have the story and them and then what happens now. So did that curiosity help with that research, that diving into the past?
Absolutely. I did a lot of the legwork on the first half of the book, and when I say legwork, I mean doing the research. What was it like? Like in Kingston, Ontario. Kingston, Ontario is the home of the Canadian version of West Point. It's called Royal Military College here, and I did a fair bit of research in terms of the currency that was used in the post-war era, and in terms of the sort of I didn't get it exact, but I nailed it. I took a little bit of dramatic license, but the scenes involved and how the ranks and how that worked, and the legend of Mr. Crawley, Major Crawley, and all of that stuff. And then Michelle took it from the modern day in the second half of the book, the modern day setup with the single mother inheriting and moving to Kingston to continue her schooling. That was
so you take so once again there's sort of a division of responsibilities that you do, and it makes I was reading that it makes perfect sense that he was in the military with the Kingston the fort there as well.
Yeah.
And I would just like to make a disclaimer, as my husband pointed out in the comments. I have spent a lot of time in the Bronx traveling. So I have nothing. He drove transport. And so we would go into New York
Point
City.
Market, baby.
and so I have nothing against the Bronx. Just no.
I'm sure your husband does.
And so also when you're looking at the history and how things have changed, now you're there and you have, well, let's just say nobody's perfect. I'm not going to point fingers. So no character's perfect. And so you sort of have to have a sympathy for those quirks, or even those very nasty quirks. Did you find it easy? Like, do you have sympathy for your villains? We'll say that.
Absolutely.
That we try to make the villain have some redeeming qualities, or even some pathetic qualities that are common to other people that people can identify, so that, okay, they're making some really bad decisions. You can kind of understand why they're making these decisions and actually feel sorry for them a little bit. And at the same time, just thinking of Crawley House, the mother, the highborn British mother with the twin girls, she wasn't lily white either. She had a catty streak, which she hurt the protagonist, Bridget. And she wasn't even aware that she'd hurt her, but she wounded her deeply. So you kind of, while you admire Melanie, that she's doing what she can to protect her daughters and, create a life that they will flourish, she wasn't entirely innocent herself. So that's the kind of fun thing to do, because then that character is more like a real person. No one's perfect.
Yes, no.
Yeah, we've all got flaws and weaknesses, and we make really stupid decisions sometimes. Yeah.
And they were both, to an extent, victims of their classes. Like Melanie had to
really wanted to try to. We really wanted to try
it came across. It came across. And I mean, that was before the Second World War. So we hadn't really, they were just beginning to make the breaks.
So just after the Second War, before the Second War,
just after the First. Yeah. So they were just starting to make strides in doing that. And you can see it. So yeah. So, and she didn't even realize, I think, that she was hurting the feelings that she was. Yeah. So you can see how that putting down makes people angry, and would if it wasn't for that class system, would any of this happen? Right. So
I don't think it would have.
So I thought it was lovely that. Not lovely what happened, but the way you worked that out was lovely, and we could see all of those things happening and rolling from the outside. So definitely the history was important, and you took care of that. And we talked about the fact that Jim always wanted to be a writer. Michelle never really thought about it, but then when Jim said he wanted to do it, she said, "I do too." So.
She was a copycat. I'm telling Mom.
You just can't be an individual, can you, Jim? And then she takes over, but she did invite you here today. Yeah. So, and she does give you. Well, I can overcome anything. It won't become. So that is the Crawley House, and there's 5 more books in that series, The Hauntings of Kingston. Yes. And they're all, as you said, standalone and wonderful. So we're going to go into, this is crazy, for like 7 years. How many series do you have altogether? You talk sort of what they were about, but how many? Tell the world.
Well, 5 series, I think. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. I'm thinking 6.
Okay,
yeah, you're probably right. You're probably right. It's probably 6. I'm probably not.
And then
of one. Legacy, right? Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
What's funny is we name some of the series by the main character. For example, there's The Hauntings of Kingston, The Haunted Ones, and then there is Kira, which is the mystical veil. Then there's Bernadette, which is Song of the Gods. Then there is Shannon, which is Hex After 40. Then there's Kara and Marin, which is The Wandering Witches. That's 6 right there. And I know I'm missing some, Michelle.
I don't think so.
I can think of 6 off the top of my head.
Yeah, it is 6. You've got them.
The Which Way series.
Yes.
Which Way? That's Marin and Kara.
I like that title. I like the the leaning of it. So I just want to point out to the people out there how generous you are with your readers. Like, this is how I feel like you guys are having a good time, because you're like, we're just writing them and giving them away. Like, this is so on the site. Okay, on your site, you say that you. Okay, I'm gonna put name brands here. Do you only have your ebooks on Amazon?
Yes.
We have an exclusive deal with Amazon for the ebooks. We're in Kindle Unlimited. The program that people subscribe to. But the paperback versions are on all of the retailers. And audiobooks, we have some audiobooks up on Amazon, and also we have the YouTube channel going as well for the haunting books.
Right. So you
Well,
can get.
Cantor has a few.
I'm sorry?
We signed a audiobook publishing deal with Cantor. They're a big audiobook producer. They produce and sell their own audiobooks, and they have the rights to 3 of our books on as well. We signed that contract about 5 years ago now, sweetheart.
Yeah, but they distribute through Amazon too, though.
Yeah.
So right now you can get on Amazon, you can get The Hauntings of Kingston for 99 cents in the States, $1.31 in Canada. And then I just want to check out, you don't have them in ebooks in the UK?
Oh, no, they're there. No,
Oh, they are? Oh, I just couldn't find them.
Well, I
Yeah,
don't
that's
know.
25%.
No, it's not your fault. I'm saying I couldn't find them. I just wanted to make sure that you did,
yeah.
because I think they would do very well.
Oh, yeah,
over
they're
there.
worldwide, actually. Yeah.
And then you can listen to all the audiobooks professionally done on YouTube. Well, not quite. Okay, tell me the story.
Well, the audiobooks that so far that I have up on YouTube are in the Haunted series, the 2
Right.
series that we have. And the first couple are, I hired a narrator, the good narrators for Crawley House and the Haunted Inn. The other ones I have been doing with AI, and it's been working okay for me. So, yeah, the other ones, the Haunted Hideout, the ones that Tantor approached us for, Haunted Hideout and Haunted by the Succubus and Grave Conjuring are all narrated by Kristen James, that series. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I've just listened to, I wanted to I read Crawley House a few years ago. And so I just wanted to get it. So I listened to that audio
Okay.
on YouTube and thought it was quite nice.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, she did a great job.
Yeah, she did with all of the voices and all of the different things. So you also have, and I've seen this, a readers group for your readers with
On Facebook.
Yeah, you have a readers group. It says in your books, join our readers group. Did you mean Facebook?
Oh, that's our newsletter.
Oh, your newsletter?
Yeah.
That's a link to our newsletter. We send out a newsletter to our readers. We try to do it once a month, and so it usually goes out about every 6 to 8 weeks. And it's promoting new books or just telling what shenanigans Michelle has been up to lately, and things along those lines. We haven't sent out a lot of newsletters this year for the simple fact that Michelle, it's been a year of medical challenges for Michelle, which is why
I'm sorry to
haven't
hear that,
published very
Michelle.
many books this year.
Yeah, not as many books this year.
She's doing much better now.
This side of the soil. I'm not a ghost yet.
Yeah.
This is good.
The first 7 months of the year, she's been in for 3 surgeries and had COVID and had a problem with blood clots. So that's why there hasn't been very many books published this year, because we've had to cope with a lot of challenges.
But it is looking better.
But that readers group is our mailing list. That link that's at the back of the ebook that you see is a sign up for our mailing list. You tap the link, and then we get your name and mailing address. We get it confirmed that you really want it, and if you sign up, you get a free book. You mentioned we're being generous, and if they're generous enough to let us into their inbox, we're generous enough to thank them for it. And,
I just wanted to point out that Legacy, the first in the Mystic Vale series, is free at the end of the Crawley House. So when I thought, okay, I want to read from another series just to get a feel, I realized I already had. I mean, I want to read the other series as well, but I really do live a life where there's so much to read and so little time.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just to keep up with everything. So, and I really, really like that. Now, see, that was a younger character.
Yes.
Kira is a younger character, but I thought she had personality, and there was depth to her character, and so I appreciated.
Yeah,
I
she had a
appreciated
lot.
Growth through the series.
Yeah, her growth through the
mostly
series.
Michelle's.
Yeah.
She really grew through the series, and that was Michelle's doing. She
Not
started out
Kira's?
as a spoiled brat trust fund kid.
Yeah, she was the
And
princess
she
to
ends
start
up
out with.
a real trust fund princess. And at the end, she's someone completely different, much more forgiving and much more caring about people.
Which is
She was
another
not that
thing.
at the beginning of the book.
No, and that's another thing that is important, that characters grow. I get very frustrated when they don't learn from their experiences. Very much like real people, but I get very frustrated when they when they don't learn from their experiences. So I'm going to follow that. But I still didn't find her. I mean, she's, I guess, there are some out there where I just I don't like them, like the characters. I just don't. And I think, okay, it's okay not to like main characters, because if you watch Breaking Bad, I mean, he's not that likable. And there's a lot of series that the main character is not that likable. But when you're easing into a series, sometimes you like to like the character. So I didn't find her non-likable in the first place. So definitely we'll continue that series. And if you want to know what I'm talking about, just get the Crawley House, and Legacy will be added to the end of that, just like that. So there's a lot. Right. Which is one of the benefits of being an indie writer, because you can do those things for your readers without plus you can get 5 books out in 1 year.
Yes.
Jim doesn't strike me as someone who has a lot of patience.
Me?
Like, let's go, let's get it done, let's move. What's next?
Boy, you don't know Michelle at all.
I'm the impatient one, really.
So Michelle has driven you crazy.
He warned me when we met. He was certifiable crazy, and I said, okay, I'm in.
I'm going for the story, which leads me into because I truly think that the love of books can become a lifestyle, as other people have traveling lifestyles or whatever. But for people that, maybe can't get out, aren't feeling well, like you were at the beginning of this year, whether they're caregivers or not, an entire life can come up around books. And you seem to be living that life. Like, it's an intricate part. You can read them, you can write them, you can visit places that when you can visit that have. What do you think? Like, do you think you would really be missing out on something if you hadn't got curious and Jim said, I want to write a book, and you hadn't said,
oh yeah, I can't imagine. Like, we're both past retirement age, but we're busy, and we're reading, we're writing, and it helps to keep you young, keep your mind going. I can't imagine being retired and not doing something like this. It's just, our life would be so different, and we'd have to do something. But we love this, so it works out just excellent. And really, one funny thing that we found, we went to Salem last year, and we had researched Salem and areas of Salem, particularly Winter Island. There's a naval station there. Yes. Anyways, we'd written this, but we had never been there. And then when we went to Salem, we're walking around this building and just going, oh my this is exactly the way I wrote it. And it was so cool.
Because you had researched it so well.
Yeah.
And which book does Salem come up in?
Salem
That
comes
was
up.
Which Way, book 4, Mara and Kara.
Yeah, yeah,
Which
the
Way?
4th book. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to read. And do you find that it brings you closer together? Like you have a singular cause purpose, or you were pretty close to begin with?
We're pretty close, I think.
It brought us closer.
Okay, you know whose answer do I take?
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm stuck now. Well, because now I'm umming.
Well,
For starters, go ahead, sweetheart.
You go ahead. You go ahead.
Well, for starters, we're in one another's back pocket literally 24/7. We go to bed together. We wake up together. Now, we do have separate corners. I built a little home office out of a bedroom, and Michelle either writes in bed in the winter, I am envious of, but then, or she'll set up her laptop at our kitchen table, and she'll write there. And in the evening, as we're like, we may not see each other for a span of 4 or 5 hours, but during that 4 or 5 hours, I'm doing edits on what she's done, or she's doing a final pass on what I had sent back to her, or she's doing the marketing of the books. And then in the evenings, more often than not, as we're preparing dinner, we'll be discussing our books, the different projects that we have on the go, or else we'll be discussing, stuff like sports and politics and things like that, what's in the news. But we're with each other 24/7. And correct me if I'm wrong, and you better agree with me, Michelle. One of the things that we get a big charge out of are road trips. The drive from Kingston to Salem, Massachusetts. It's an 8-hour drive, and we're in the car yammering at one another, talking with each other the entire trip, and it goes by in a flash. When we travel to New York City, 2 years ago, we did this long 10-day trip throughout the province of Quebec. And I was driving 8 to 10 hours a day to get from point A to point B. And Quebec is big, but the time just flies. Like, we can sit in the car with one another, and it's something we look forward to. Like, we'll say to each other, hey, we need a road trip. Okay, let's go here. And a couple of days later, we're in the car and we're off.
And it doesn't have to be something big and exotic, because you're curious and you're interested in all kinds of things. I totally get that. Michelle, do you agree with him? Like you said, you better.
Yeah. I do, actually. Yeah. Despite the threat. Yeah, I do.
You look so very frightened.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm quaking.
Speaking of road trips, my Dave Benison would like to know, have you ever thought of doing something that would include Niagara-on-the-Lake, one of the most haunted places in Canada?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
It's funny.
In fact, it's funny you mention that. We were talking about heading down there over this is the Thanksgiving weekend coming up in Canada right now. Right. In the States, it's obviously the last Thursday in November. And we talked about heading down there this coming weekend. We put it off because we were thinking about would like to see it at around Christmas time. But yeah, Niagara-on-the-Lake is absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, it's definitely on our list. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I may be saying, if you go at Christmas time, you might want to go to the Christmas store, because I might have an in with the Santa for you. Okay. Depending how things work out, and whether I'm naughty or nice, I guess. And it's not a nerdy writer question, Brian. Brian would like to know, how do you handle the editing aspect? Because that could be dangerous. Do you edit what the other has written?
Yes.
Yeah. And it's funny. A book will go back and forth between Jim and I 4 or 5 times. And, making changes and finding, errors, and then it's off to the editor, and they'll pick up more errors. But yeah, it really does help that to have two eyes.
She does mostly just a proofread. Like, she doesn't do plot development or characters. The editor we send it out to, it's more of a line edit, punctuation and grammar and stuff like that is what the professional edit does. Everything prior to that is done between Michelle and I.
Yeah.
So when I'm gonna cause trouble. So when you talk about the impatient aspects of Michelle, does that come into editing at all?
No, it's more of a rush to publish.
So you're the one. I can see. And because I call indie writing do-it-yourself writing, you do what you can,
Sure.
and you hire someone else to do. Do you hire an editor? Like, did you pay someone, or do you have other people doing that for you? So you go for the professional editing, and you think that is important?
I think so, yeah, because it's just another set of eyes, and sometimes you can get very, very close to the work that you don't see, and that independent person looking at it, they'll pick up some things, and they send it back, and you go, oh my, and you do your corrections. But I think it really, really helps, and of course with the covers as well. That's another thing. You have.
I was going to ask that you have someone do the covers. Well, I like them. I mean, obviously the black and white is wonderful for the excuse me, for the haunted ones, and the other ones are so colorful and magical. So those look nice as well. So this is what you're going to continue doing this as well as whenever you're able to do this. And I think because you're thinking about something else, like if you were just in the house together, you might notice that somebody's doing something, but your minds are being so creative and so wonderful. And Alice Munro says something like, curiosity is constant happiness. And I always thought that was true. And you agree with that?
Oh yeah, aspect. Absolutely. Yeah.
So they are having as much fun out in Kingston as I think they are. and for retired people and for this, it is a very conservative as far as like, you don't have to do those Freedom 55 commercials to be happy.
No,
you can.
No, it's true.
People seem to think that is the only way to retire and to enjoy,
Well, I know
we have friends that one friend of ours, she loves cruises, and she goes on Caribbean cruises, Alaska cruises, European cruises, and to Michelle and I, that's just not something that we ever had any dream of. Now, I do want to point out that we do get away every winter. We go skiing at least 3 times in the winter. We go on.
But you're pretty close to skiing.
Yeah, well, it is Canada, right?
No, you can't go skiing in the prairies.
No, we're very fortunate.
Yeah,
we're 4 hours away from the best skiing in the Eastern Townships, Mont Tremblant.
So that's not an.
Yeah.
So you don't have to put traveling expenses into that.
Not really, and the other thing is we do get away for a week or 2 in the Caribbean the end of every February.
So, and I'll just to
but
break
that's a vacation
winter.
just to get away from the cold because we're old.
Well, I'm hearing you. I'm hearing you, Jim. Okay, it's.
I'm sorry, sweetheart. You're from New Orleans.
No, I'm actually from Niagara Falls. I just brought.
Oh, really?
From New Orleans, yes. Yeah. So I am definitely hearing you, but I'm not as far north as you are. But I remember a time where I was just like, I want to move north. I want to move north. I want to live off the land. I want to, but that's sort of changing.
Yeah, those years catch up to you. That Pioneer Quest TV series isn't quite as attractive as it was on TV.
No. That's what I said. Get me the RV, baby, because I'm not sleeping in that tent anymore. There needs to. This is interesting too. As people who write ghost stories, are you believers or skeptics?
Ooh, I totally believe. I've had too many things that have happened in my life that, I do believe. Now, there are people who are way more sensitive to spirits and paranormal than I am, but it's in my family. Like, I've had 2 nephews that their houses have been haunted, and I definitely.
One of them is the basis for a book.
Yeah, The Last Laugh is actually based on my nephew Phil's.
I noticed that.
Yeah.
And it was based on a real story.
Yeah,
So.
and they're still living there, and the ghost still makes appearances.
But it's a nice ghost?
He was more playful, but lately what I've heard is that when their daughter returns from university to stay the weekend, she's seen a dark shadow at the foot of her bed, and she's experienced sleep paralysis. So that kind of freaked her out. So that part was not pleasant. But as far as my nephew and his wife Sherry, they've never had anything really negative. So maybe it's just Hannah that the ghost doesn't really care for. I don't know.
Because I always, you watch those movies and I'm like, I don't care. I've said this before, Fika. I don't care if I have to live in a car. I'm getting out of the house. I am running. I am not going to be one of those people. So I'm always curious if people stay with friendly ghosts or whatever. But next week, see, now I thought this, but it is. I did fictional ghosts this week, and next week I'm going to have a paranormal expert in to talk about her real experiences with ghosts. Also, she's a friend, but she's also the station manager, so I can't have Jim call me that day. It has to work good. Now, Brian wants to know, can ghosts be reasoned with, or are they fixed personalities? You said she seems to be changing a bit, but it could be with the people.
It might. That's a hard one to answer, because when Hannah was living there before she went to university, I don't think she had any problems. It was only in a playful way. That part in the book which describes the toilet paper strewn from her bathroom, which is in a kind of an annex part of the house. And it was through her room, down the stairs. It was everywhere. But that's playful, right?
It's a trickster. There's the tricks coming. And so if people want to know more about this story that was based on, they should buy The Last Laugh. That is only $1.31 in Canada right now, and 99 cents in the States. And they will hear. They can see more of that story. Right?
Yep.
So I would love some time to talk more about the other series. We concentrated most on the hauntings and that, if you're ever up for it in your thing, and to see more about because I just think you are a wonderful example for this particular thing. Now, all things Jim, you are a wonderful example of just grabbing hold of your curiosity and your passion and living with that and enjoying life as it comes. And we need to see more of that.
That's very generous. Thank you.
Oh, yes. Well, I'm thinking, I'm like, should I say to add, and I was on such a passionate role, the capitalistic system. And so I thought, well, no, the way Jim felt about that class system back in the Crawley House, maybe he wants to hear that he's doing that. I don't know.
But look at yourself, Vicky. Like you've started this radio program and you've gone from 50 subscribers to now you're over 100K. Wow. That's amazing.
Live listeners. Yeah. No, I'm pretty pleased with myself.
You should be.
And thank you to all those live listeners listening out there now, and for having patience for things like the echoing earlier. I think they just like bloopers. I have a lot of them, but no, it's really important to find something and be passionate about it and grab onto it, and otherwise, what does the brain do, right?
Yeah.
It,
Yep.
it just and there is a lot of happiness out there and great people giving us something to do, like, the books. And that's why I love indies, because they are different voices. They're not the same voices that we hear over and over again in the books. In the books, people, I'm not hearing voices of the characters, and they're different ages, and it's not always that kind of thing. So thank you for writing the whole Haunted series. I mean, people can have a ball for like $6 American, 150 Canadian. No, American, and have something to read, every week, every part of a week up to Halloween. So I really enjoyed our visit, and I hope we get to talk again
Meeting you.
soon.
It
It
was
was good
lovely.
meeting you too as well. Okay. We'll talk later. Okay,
Okay.
take care.
You too, Vicky. Bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, that was a great conversation. Once we were able to get started, but it was fun nonetheless. Oh wait, Brian had a comment before. Is that a question, Brian? We'll get it. Are the ghost cats? There could be, but you'll have to hold that question until you can ask Michelle that next week. Do pets come back as ghosts? A different Michelle. We have 2 Michelles 2 weeks in a row. So great. I hope you all enjoy the month and the booze and the chills and all the scares that are going to come with it. We certainly are going to here on Fika. So until next week, may your coffee be hot and your story sweet. Thanks for listening, everyone. And there we go. Okay. Now we're ready to go. Okay, thanks. Bye-bye.